Number 109, May 3rd, 2023 is the date of today. We begin in the NBA where there's some news, playoff news a little bit here, and a little bit of off-season news for a team that's been eliminated.
Yeah. Shortly after the Grizzlies were eliminated, they already have came out to say they don't intend to re-sign Dylan Brooks.
Yeah, it felt like that was coming. I mean, guy did a lot of trash talking to not perform on the basketball court in the playoffs. Feels like much more of a headache than what he's like. I think he's more of a headache than contributor to the team. So I feel like, yeah, it's smart. I don't know where he's going to go. Maybe he goes to more of a low-key team that's not really a contender that would take him.
I'm going to say he's going to go to Houston or Portland, go back towards where he went to college, or he's going to Houston.
Yeah, I could see that, but smart by the Grizzlies here, I think.
I mean, if he would just shut up and play,
yeah, I think that it was just too much.
He could be a good side piece to Damian Lillard.
Yeah, maybe learn from this, put his head down, just play basketball.
Yeah,
maybe don't try to pretend like you're going to dominate LeBron or something. It's just stupid. Chris Paul has a groin injury, could miss games 3 through 5, maybe a week for the Suns. The Suns are dead, I think. I mean, they're down 0-2. They should have won game 2. They collapsed in the fourth quarter. Right when Chris Paul went down, the game kind of – because the Suns, I think, were up 6 or 8 when he was out there and he was making shots. They were in a good flow, and then they couldn't score after he went down. So I feel bad for Chris Paul because this just happens every year now, and I don't think the Suns – I have a feeling that he's not going to be on the team next year at this point because if he just can't stay healthy for the playoffs, what's the purpose?
When's the last time he also played a full season? Like he's out.
I think last year he was close. But
he was out like 3 or 4 times this year.
I feel like last year he was close, but he had one injury that kind of affected that. Let me see here. Last year he played, he played 65 last year or so, and 59 this year. And then the year before that, 2021, which was a 72-game season, he played 70. His first year with the Suns, he almost played every game. So, I don't know. Here's a fun fact. You know Chris Paul started every single game of his career? How about that? Feels hard to accomplish when you play 1,214 games. He started every single one that he's played in. But
he's not a bench point guard.
Yeah, but maybe he'd be injured and come off the bench for a game. I'm surprised that hasn't happened before. But anyway, the Suns are going to need a lot more of Kevin Durant and Devin Booker.
Who's the backup point guard? The dude from Michigan State?
The backup point guard is Cameron Payne.
Yeah, from Michigan State.
Murray State.
Who am I thinking of from Michigan State? They had a Payne that was a point guard.
I don't know. But no, I think you're going to see a lot more of Booker at the point. I think he'll probably start at the 1, I would think, because Cameron Payne's been pretty brutal in this playoffs, coming off a couple injuries this year, and he hasn't looked good. So I think you probably see Booker starting at the point and be a lot of him and Durant bringing the ball up, hopefully initiating some offense, which they did not do when Chris Paul went out. Hopefully the fact they have 3 days in between games 2 and 3, they can figure out something with that. But just another injury for Chris Paul in the playoffs, and it's unfortunate.
Maybe they feed Ayton the ball and try getting Jokic in foul trouble or wear him down.
Yeah, I wish that would work, but it's not going to work. Ayton just stinks. But Kyrie Irving is the Phoenix Sun next year. Mark that down. Coach of the year in the NBA, Mike Brown of the Sacramento Kings, Coach of the Year, not surprising there, well-deserved. Mark Daigneault of the Thunder was a finalist, had a good year there, and then Joe Mazzulla for the Celtics, who's just been terrible in the playoffs, by the way, coaching horribly. I mean, the fact that they let the Hawks take them to 6 games is an embarrassment.
Well, then they threw, was in game 1 or game 2 away where they looked like there's a shot clock violation, everybody threw it backwards right to who are they playing? the Sixers. They just threw it to Maxey just to go have him dunk. They had like a 5-point lead, and next thing you know, the Sixers were winning, and then Harden hit that big three over Horford.
Yeah, it's been tough late game stretches for Missoula, so not great for the Celtics, but they have a chance to bounce back tonight.
And then Embiid named the MVP.
And he should be back in the lineup tonight for the Sixers. They'll go up 1-0 over the Celtics without him. I have a feeling they're going to lose with him tonight, but that's just me.
I thought they were up 2-0.
No, they've only played one game.
Oh.
In terms of the playoffs?
Yeah, if he won it over Jokic and Giannis, which I feel Jokic was second.
Yeah, I agree. I agree with that, certainly. In terms of the Eastern Conference right now, you had the Heat, Celtics, Sixers, Knicks advance. Right now you have the Heat and Knicks in a 1-1 tie heading into Miami for Game 3. No Jimmy Butler in Game 2. Knicks ended up winning that game. And then Celtics, Sixers Game 2 tonight in Boston. Sixers lead the series 1-0. Embiid makes his return for Philly.
And then the Western Conference, you had the Nuggets, Lakers, Warriors, Suns advance. Nuggets are up 2-0 on the Suns, and the Lakers are up 1-0 on the Lakers. But the Lakers also had more rest time than the Warriors out of this.
Yeah, I don't think anybody should be worried about the Warriors bouncing back or making this a series until it's actually over. I think they could go down 2-0, and I'd still be like, they'll figure it out. And Clay and Steph weren't very efficient in Game 1. I think they'll figure it out and improve a little bit. But the Lakers have been playing well, so give them credit for that.
There also was people complaining about Jordan Poole's range, and they said he's got the green light for his long shots.
Yeah, I don't really hate the shot. I mean, he could make that, and they were all over Steph, so nobody else was really going to shoot there, so just didn't go in. All right, on to the NFL. We had the draft last week.
Yeah, which team had the best draft? In your opinion?
That's a tough question with just one team. I think a lot of teams did well. I would say probably I think it would be between like Arizona, I think, had a really good draft. The fact they were able to get some picks after going from 3 to 12, then back to 6, and they get the best offensive lineman in the class. And they added some other solid pieces as well, especially late in the draft. So I think Arizona, I think Baltimore always drafts well. I think Buffalo did well with their first 2 picks were really good. But I think there's a lot of teams did well.
Baltimore drafted another receiver?
They got just Zay Flowers in the first. So no other receivers after that. Did add to their defense a little bit, but
I had it as the Eagles.
Yeah, I think the Eagles are certainly up there. The fact that they're able to get Nolan Smith late in the first, and then they got Jalen Carter, who might end up being the best player in this draft.
Then they also got the trade with the Eagles to get for DeAndre Swift.
Yeah. And they got Sidney Brown at 66, one of the better safeties in a weak safety class. They got Keeley Ringo, another Georgia player, a cornerback. They got Tanner McKee, who's probably one of the better middle-round quarterback options as a backup. I think they crushed it in days 2 and 3 especially. I think the Steelers did really well. Keanu Benton at 49 is a really good value pick. Joey Porter Jr. at 32 is a good value. Broderick Jones, one of three true draftable first-round tackles in this class they got. And then obviously Nick Herbig at 132. And then if Darnell Washington's knee issue's not that serious, 93 is a pretty good spot for him. So I think the Steelers did really well too.
And with them, they saved a bunch of money on Joey Porter, them getting him in the second round. A guy who's projected to be a mid-first round pick. But he gets to stay home, follow in his dad's footsteps, and Pittsburgh. Played at Penn State.
Yeah. In terms of the worst draft, I think Detroit has got to be up there because they drafted an off-ball linebacker at 18 and a running back at 12, which is just ridiculous to me. They redeemed themselves a little bit in day 2 with Sam Laporta, the tight end out of Iowa, and Brian Branch, the DB out of Alabama. They did draft Hendon Hooker as well, but I think Hendon Hooker is a little bit overrated.
I liked him. When the quarterback was the need for the Bucks, I thought he would fall and they would take him. Didn't get one.
It's a pretty old quarterback to draft that's injured that might not play right away, and they already have 2 guys that they're going to probably
Trask rookie deal's probably coming up, and that'll give time for Hooker to see the offense and heal.
I suppose.
I had as the Rams.
Yeah, the Rams haven't had very many draft picks over the last few years, but they had a ton of them in this one after some trades. But, yeah, I mean, drafting a quarterback that stinks at 128, total reach on –
You say he stinks because he's old.
Well, yeah, and he stinks. He's not going to translate to the NFL level. Waste of a pick. I think they had a couple good picks on day 3, though. Zach Evans, the Ole Miss running back's good. They got Travius Hodges-Tomlinson, who's once viewed as like a potentially second-round corner out of TCU. They got Ochon Mathis, the edge rusher out of Nebraska. I think they did pretty well on day 3. Day 2 is questionable with a couple of those picks, and day 1 they picked up, or they didn't even draft anybody in day 1. I think they made a trade, but they got their first pick, Avila, the offensive guard out of TCU, is a nice pick, but it just seems like in terms of positional value, they didn't really do a very good job of that. But at least they didn't draft a kicker at 99 like the Niners, which I think Moody's the best kicker in the class by a mile, but 99 just feels insane.
Maybe they think they only got one more year out of Robbie.
Possibly. I think the Texans kind of struggled too. Because, like, say what you will about the fact they got Stroud at 2 and Anderson at 3, they traded their first-round pick next year, which is like, what are you expecting to be? That's why I think Arizona getting that pick is big time.
I am completely shocked that the Falcons took Bijan Robinson so early.
That was one of 5 picks that I got right in my random mock draft right before the draft. That was one of them. I had them. I thought if anybody was going to take one of the top 10, it would be them, and I was really just guessing. I didn't think Detroit would take one at 12, but, yeah, 2 running backs in the first round.
And really, it was supposed to be Bijan, like, late.
Yeah.
Like 18 to the end.
Sometimes there's he's a really good football player. He's one of the probably 5 or 6 best football players in this class, but it's not a premium position. That's why I'm so attached to premium positions in the first round, though, because that's literally all the Packers draft. Like, they're never going to take a receiver in the first round unless there's a can't miss. Like, if Marvin Harrison Jr. is really, really good at Ohio State this year and, like, he would fall in the Packers' lap at, like, 9 next year if they're at 9, that's the only way. But other than that, like, edge, offensive line, quarterback, cornerback, that's like your premium positions. That's the only ones the Packers are going to take. And they kind of went away from that last year with Quay Walker in the first round. But
you got a good backup quarterback.
That's good is certainly one way of putting it. 2 tight ends. I like that a lot. I think Tucker Kraft's a stud. Getting him at 78 is great. I really wanted Darnell Washington, but I understand if the knee injuries like that, he wouldn't have fallen at 93 if it wasn't a concern. So, I mean, I'm glad they drafted a kicker and didn't.
But the fact that you took 2 tight ends.
Yeah, play some different styles of football. Both guys can. Musgrave's a really good pass catcher. Kraft get a little down and dirty. He can catch passes as well. Some 2 tight end sets. I like it a lot. Tight ends are the best friend of a young quarterback, and the Packers are going to have a young quarterback for the first time since Aaron Rodgers was young. So I like it.
Yeah, what was this thing at?
Also, drafting a kicker and not doing it inside of the top 200 is a win. And they got a kicker with a good pedigree, Anders Carlson, brother of Daniel Carlson, all pro for the Raiders. So
This is a wild similarities between Favre and Rodgers. Both won their lone Super Bowl in their age 27 season. Both got traded to the Jets after 15 plus years in Green Bay. Both players' final game as a Packer was a loss at Lambeau. Both quarterbacks went 2-6 in their final 8 passes as a Packer. Both got hurt and replaced by their first round backup against a one-loss NFC team. Both players won multiple MVPs as a Packer.
Was the Favre one the Cowboys game? I think it was. Pretty sure it was the Cowboys game in 07. So when does Rodgers go to the Vikings and when does he rip off a bunch of poor people in Mississippi? Yeah, I mean, it's not surprising. The parallels have been very weird. And also, I'll just throw this out there. It wouldn't have surprised me if the Packers took a QB on day 2 because remember the Packers this would have been, I guess, 2021, but the year after they took Rodgers, they took Brian Braum in the second or third round, and everyone's like, I think Braum's better than Rodgers. He's going to be the next quarter. It wouldn't have surprised me if the Packers went up and took a quarterback earlier than 149, but they didn't. And also Anthony Johnson Jr., the safety out of Iowa State, they got a 242. Chris Collinsworth had him going 28th to the Bengals. I'm just saying. I don't know what that means, but it feels pretty good. And Carl Brooks, the D tackle out of Bowling Green, was 3rd in FBS in quarterback pressures last year, so he's productive. I think this is going to be a really good draft. I think they stuck to their guns, which is we want the athletic guys, and they brought in all those types of players. And I also think that your team did well too. I know that you don't like it because you wanted certain things, but I like Kalijah Kancey a lot out of Pitt at 19. I think that's a good spot for him. I thought he would have been 19-24 range. And say what you will about Cody Mock out of North Dakota State, he's one of the best interior offensive linemen in this class.
Interior, though, but they need a tackle.
Yeah, but that's a guy that could probably – I thought he was always listed as a tackle, but maybe I'm wrong. He's also got no teeth. His 2 front teeth are gone. That's pretty, he means business with that.
But now the question is he going to move to right and Wirf's going to move to left, or is he going to be the left tackle?
Good question. I don't know. Maybe he plays guard. I mean, he's listed as an offensive tackle on his combine profile, but I think some people are kind of in between on him. 6'5", I think you could play tackle at 6'5".
6'5", 302.
Yeah. And Payne Durham, 171, tight end out of Purdue. He's a nice player. Trey Palmer's one of the better receivers in the Big Ten last year, 191. It's not too bad.
But the receiver, it's like where you fit him in. Mike Evans, Chris Godwin. The dude from the Falcons.
Fit him in with every other late round receiver, I guess. You just toss him in the 4 or 5 spot and he'll get some snaps here and there and maybe play a little special teams. Who knows? But, yeah, so the NFL talk is going to be limited next few months. Not a lot of news. Maybe some mini camp, OTA news here and there. But other than that, not much going on. Maybe Budda Baker gets traded. I mean, maybe DeAndre Hopkins gets traded. Who knows? But
those both are still in the air after the request.
Yeah, we'll see what happens. But all right, let's go over to golf, which this is prime golf season now. Really getting into it with the golf.
Yeah, last weekend you had the Mexico Open. Winner was Tony Finau. Won $1.4 million. Shot 24 under.
I'd say the best case scenario for the PGA Tour was having the 2 premier guys, really the only 2 premier guys in this field, Finau and Rahm, going toe-to-toe on Sunday. I know it wasn't that close, but
Rahm got back in the game because he shot 10 under.
Yeah.
He shot 10 under on round 3.
Yeah, but Finau, that's 6 now. I remember some talks about, man, when's he going to start winning? And then he won the Northern Trust 2 years ago at Liberty National, and now he's starting to stack them up. Won a couple last year late in the summer, so another one here, and
he's been playing good golf all season.
Yeah, it was working his way towards maybe being on the Ryder Cup team again, which he was on it in 2021.
And then this weekend you have the Wells Fargo Championship, defending champion Max Homa at Quail Hollow Club, Charlotte, North Carolina. Which I didn't see Max Homa in the field.
He's there. Let me just say this. PGA Tour is absolutely screwing their defending champ Max Homa by making him play with Patrick Cantlay. I'm just saying. Max tees off tomorrow at 6:30 a.m. our time. So he's playing with Cantlay. It's terrible. Terrible for the defending champ to have to deal with that. But hopefully he can weather that storm and figure it out.
Homa also doesn't play the fastest, and he also is a slow putter
but
as well.
he's not even close to Cantlay speed.
Correct. But they also line up the same and try reading putts the same. So
that's the only thing with Max, though. He's a little slower with putting, which I don't even think he's that slow in terms of average speed. But everything else, he's pretty normal speed. Cantlay is just slow at everything. But whatever. All right, Major League Baseball, no college hoop stuff. Maybe next week we'll know where Hunter Dickinson is going to be playing basketball next year. But right now we have baseball. We have Rockies pitcher Herman Marquez, Tommy John surgery incoming for him. Not great for that. Not good.
And then Verlander and Max Scherzer to return for the Mets versus the Dodgers.
Yeah.
Coming home for them.
Yeah, Verlander making his Mets debut. I will be picking that game tomorrow with Verlander making his Mets debut in Detroit.
And both of them just returning to Detroit again.
Yeah.
Player of the week.
Yeah, let's get a little love for the 6-24 Oakland Athletics, who are going to be historically bad. But one bright spot for them has been 28-year-old outfielder Brent Rooker, who's batting, I believe, .330 on the season and was really good in the last week. 10 for 28, that's .357 average. 5 home runs, 11 driven in, a double, and 6 walks for Rooker. Shout out to him. Shout out to the A's, who are going to lose 120 games this year.
Didn't they also make it official that Oakland is going to move to Vegas?
Yep. They are headed to Vegas. Not surprising. Feels like this has been something that was going to be happening inevitable for a few years now, and finally coming to fruition.
I picked Toronto shortstop Bo Bichette, 10 for 25, 7 runs, 3 home runs, 9 RBIs, 3 walks.
Bo Bichette, good ball player, no doubt, good ball player. All right, let's go to the NHL in the midst of the Stanley Cup playoffs on to round 2, but some news outside of that realm, which is that the Flames finally fired head coach Daryl Sutter. They missed the playoffs. He lost the locker room pretty early. Didn't seem like the guys liked playing for him. They fired Brad Treliving, the GM, a couple weeks ago, which I think Treliving didn't really deserve to get fired. I think Sutter was the real problem in Calgary. But I think this is the right move to get rid of Sutter and find a new coach. And the roster's not too bad.
Hey,
give it another year with this core.
Then in 2 to 3 years, you'll have a new arena.
Yeah, that'll be good. That'll be good. Energize the city. Maybe they'll fire the head coach and GM again by then, just to kind of get a fresh start in a new spot. But I think the Flames need to go younger. They need to go a little bit more. Somebody who's a little bit more in tune with the way the game is now, because Sutter is just such an old school. Players like Jonathan Huberdeau pretty much confirmed as much as that the guys didn't like playing for him. And, sometimes that style works, sometimes it doesn't. So I think the Flames need to kind of do a complete 180 with their next hire. Maybe get like a college guy in there or a younger assistant. Definitely don't get Steve Ott from the Blues, because he's got another year in him with the Blues as an assistant, but that's just me. But the Flames definitely need to approach both the GM and coach search with an open mind of like getting younger and guys that are more in tune with the way the game is now, because it's a lot different. And a lot of the coaches we see fired are more the old school types, but there's a lot of factors for these things. And ironically enough, one of the better coaching jobs we've seen in the playoffs or the entire season is Lindy Ruff, who's 63 and has been coaching for like 26 years. Anyway, for the Devils, Lady Bing finalists, which is the sportsmanship, conduct, that type of stuff. Jack Hughes of the New Jersey Devils, Anze Kopitar of the LA Kings, and Braden Point of the Tampa Bay Lightning are the finalists for this award.
And then you got the Selke finalists. You got Patrice Bergeron of Boston, Nico Hischier of the Devils, and Mitch Marner of Toronto.
Yeah, Heischer's been knocking on the door to be a Selke type player, finalist for a few years now. Well deserved. Bergeron, obviously, every year. By the way, last year's Lady Bing winner was Kyle Connor of the Winnipeg Jets, and Bergeron won the Selke last year. What's he at now? Like 20 of those?
No, I don't think he's got that many.
No, he's probably got like at least like 6, somewhere 5. I'm gonna look right now, but yeah, Marner is another player that is new fresh blood for this award. Bergeron has 5. Okay, probably 6 this year with how good the Bruins were in the regular season.
But nominations, he's probably up there at like 15.
He's probably way up there with that. But yeah, I would assume that the winners I think Kopitar probably wins the Lady Bing, and I think Bergeron probably wins the Selke. But most of the other awards are pretty much sealed and signed, sealed, and delivered. I mean, McDavid's going to win every pop. McDavid's going to win the Art Ross. He's going to win the Lindsay. He's going to win the Hart. The Norris is probably going to go to Erik Karlsson, even though does defense really matter anymore? I know Karlsson had 100 points for defenseman, but his defense is terrible. So that doesn't really make sense to me, but whatever. That's what the award is now. And then Vezina is probably going to be Olmark, and there's really no other argument for anybody else for that award. Maybe Ilya Sorokin, but I don't think that's going to happen. But yeah, we're on to round 2 of the playoffs.
Yeah, the Eastern Conference, you got the Panthers up 1-0 over the Leafs, and the Devil Hurricanes start tonight.
In the West, you got the Kraken up 1-0 on the Stars. How about the Kraken last night? The fact they scored 5 goals off of Jake Ottinger, that's damn near impossible. And the Stars waste a performance where Joe Pavelski comes back for the first time since early in the Minnesota series and scores 4 goals. And they lose 5-4 at home in overtime to Seattle. Shout out to Seattle. I have a feeling the Stars are going to kill them in Game 2, but that's just the way it is. And then Vegas and Edmonton start tonight. Game 1 of that series from Vegas. That'll be a really fun series to watch. Get Connor McDavid. More Connor McDavid playoff games, the better. And the Oilers power play, 56% in the first round. This is the best power play we've ever seen. It was 32% in the regular season. It's literally unfair when you have Draisaitl and McDavid playing an entire 2 minutes of a power play. It's impossible. But hey, as I've heard 100 times, I was listening to the Spittin' Chicklets podcast, about 100 times they said, and it almost became a joke or a bit, Vegas is the least penalized team in the league. So that'll be a huge factor for this series with Edmonton.
And then after the Boston series ended, then they're talking about Olmark was hurt.
Yeah.
Limited. So why not put Swayman in there earlier in the series? You alternated them all year.
Yeah.
Like he was 18th, whatever, in wins, and Olmark was 1. So why not put him in when he's got full mobility?
I think two things, or 2 coaches that struggled in the playoffs. Jim Montgomery, I felt like if you're a Boston fan, you're probably sitting there like, why are you changing so much throughout the lineup? And then you just keep rolling out an injured goaltender. And they knew he was hurt. Like they knew it, and they just waited too long to go to Swayman. And Florida is a team that Matthew Tkachuk pretty much said, get on my back and let's go. And then I think Gerard Gallant for the Rangers struggled as well, because it was the opposite of Montgomery, where he didn't change a thing. And they just got outskated, outworked in Game 7 in New Jersey. So Jim Montgomery is a great coach, but that was a tough look in that series. All right, let's go to the betting picks now. We have a number of different picks to make this week. I did pick NBA. I didn't know which NBA we picked, so we were going to pick.
I picked tomorrow. Everything's for tomorrow.
Okay, yeah, because I threw one out there for tonight just in case, but I do have tomorrow as well. And we got the Stanley Cup Playoffs for tomorrow. We got MLB for tomorrow and the golf. I went 5-5 last week. 1-0 in the NBA, had 1 golfer, which was a top 10 for Bo Hostler. Hitting one of those in a field like that is a win, especially when I didn't even touch Finau or Rahm. And then 1-1 in the NHL, 2-3 in Major League Baseball, 5-5. And overall, I am 784 and 589.
I went 7-3, 1-0 in the NBA, 2-0 in hockey, 2-3 in the MLB, which was, the Dodgers losing to the Pirates, the Padres losing to the Cubs, and the Mariners losing to the Phillies in a 1-0 game. And then I hit on 2 golfers. I had Tony Finau top 5 and Stefan Jaeger at top 20, and he tied for 18th.
It's a hard this week's field is like easier to pick in terms of the names, but you never really know with how good the field is if certain guys are going to perform or not.
Yeah, so now I'm sitting at 803 and 593.
All right, let's do MLB first. Get that out of the way for tomorrow.
I got the Rays minus 190 over the Pirates, the Mets minus 180 over the Tigers, the Brewers minus 145 over the Rockies, the Angels plus 125 over the Cardinals, and the Blue Jays minus 155 over the Red Sox.
A lot of similar picks. I got the Rays minus 190 over the Pirates, the Twins minus 140 over the White Sox, Mets minus 180 over the Tigers, Brewers minus 145 at the Rockies, and the Blue Jays minus 155 at the Red Sox. All right, let's do NBA.
I got the Lakers plus 5.5 over the Warriors.
I think that's probably what's going to happen too, but I'm going Warriors minus 5.5. I think that it'll be close throughout. A couple free throws here and there. Maybe the Warriors win by 6. Why not? Stanley Cup playoffs.
I got the Panthers plus 155 over the Leafs and the Stars minus 195 over the Kraken.
I got the Leafs minus 180 over the Panthers and the Stars minus 195 over the Kraken. I have both series getting to 1-1 heading to Florida and Seattle.
I think the Panthers are hot right now, so I'm just rolling with them.
Yeah, we'll see. I mean, Bobrovsky's actually playing well. I know that they're going to give up a lot of goals in the series because that's just the way that the Leafs have to play. And let's be honest, the Leafs get out of the first round for the first time since 2004, but they were totally outplayed in almost every game against Tampa. Other than game 2, I think the Leafs were outplayed in every game. But hey, sometimes you need little puck bounces, some puck luck to go here and there, and it hasn't happened for Toronto in 19 years. It was going to happen eventually, but I'm hoping that Matthew Tkachuk continues to put the pedal to the metal and takes down Toronto in round 2, but we'll see. All right, let's do the Wells Fargo picks. Quail Hollow, venue of the President's Cup in September. I took a little bit from that with how some of these guys that I picked played at the President's Cup, but overall.
Oh, you doing a little research?
Yeah, I was thinking about the President's Cup, and Sam Burns had a bad record at the President's Cup, for example, but played well overall. Scheffler was bringing him down in the President's Cup early last year at Quail Hollow. So, yeah, you got to take a little bit of since we saw this course on a not that big of a stage, but a big enough stage 8 months ago. You got to think about some of those things. It'll be laid out a little bit differently, but who you got?
To win, I have Cantlay at plus 1,200, Finau plus 1,400, and Jordan Spieth at plus 1,800.
For the sake of the golf world, I hope Cantlay misses the cuts. We don't have to watch him on the weekend, but that's just me. I got Jordan Spieth plus 1,800. I got Cameron Young, who was great here in September at the President's Cup. Actually, he wasn't that good, but he was amazing to watch, plus 1,800. And then I got Burns, like I said, plus 3,000, played really well here in September.
Top 5, I have Rory McIlroy plus 190.
I can't believe he's the favorite, by the way. We haven't seen him in a while. The last time we saw him was a miscut by a mile at the Masters. That's weird to me. By the way, he got fined $3 million for skipping the RBC Heritage.
Yeah.
So
I guess you and me talked about that off air last week. I told you that.
Yeah, that's not great for him. Victor Hovland plus 400 is my top 5.
Top 10, I have Justin Thomas at plus 220.
Max defending his title usually plays pretty well. He probably won't win, but Max Homa plus 280 top 10. I'll go there.
Top 20, I have Matthew Fitzpatrick at plus 125.
Both my top 20 and top 40 are pretty much guys who are pretty consistent and play pretty well every week. I'll take Sung Jae plus 130 top 20.
And top 40, I have Stefan Jaeger at plus 130.
I have JJ Spawn plus 120. He's had a pretty good season, so I'll take him in the top 40 spot. And that'll do it for us. We'll be back next week. Plenty more to cover in the playoff action and maybe some other notes from around the sports world. And we will see everybody back here next week on Wednesday for number 110.
Deuces.